Thank you for joining me. Welcome back. Naturalnews.tv or my YouTube channel.com/magnusmuliner. 2012, another incredible year ahead. Now, often on my recordings I talk about consciousness, awareness, just being mindful. And what I'd like to do is just explain a little bit more about that so that you understand. Now, many of you will be aware of what's being stated in the media and what's going on in the world and so on. And my question to you is, can you do anything about it? Now, for some of you, perhaps you could. I mean, you could be a little bit more wise about how you would vote in that situation, as in what you watch, what you fill this with, what you spend most of your time doing, where you put your money, where you put your feet, where you put your ears, and so on. But when I refer to lower levels of consciousness, I'm talking about if you are one of these people that focus on the drama, the past events, the ongoing delusions that are out there, and if you are constantly focusing on them, then that is a lower level of consciousness. It's not to say that you need to vibrate at a higher level of consciousness, but if you did, the world would be a totally different place. Interesting. That means it would be totally different, and the reason it would is because you would look upon it in a different way, and then you would teach that to others. So if you also a lower level of consciousness, higher level of consciousness would be to do with filled with love, light, wisdom, awaken to your divine nature, open to anything that's kind of related to the present moment. Some of you perhaps listening to this recording may have read a lot of Eckhart Tolle's work in The Power of Now, Practicing the Power of Now, A New Earth, and so on. And I think he's written quite a few other books. So that's really what I'm referring to. Bearing in mind 2012 and the Mayan calendar and other things that are going to be occurring. And you might hear about some of these things in the media. And what the media likes to do is jump on the bandwagon and blow everything out of proportions. I mean, even something as simple as supplements and them being not so good for you or what have you. But what's interesting, and I got this from Ortho Molecular Medicine, is that in 2010 there wasn't one single recorded death for somebody overdosing on supplements. Not one. And yet, with all the draconian measures that are trying to be pushed through with Codex Alimentarius and other actions within the governments and big pharmaceutical companies, it's like, well, if supplements don't kill you, what's the reason for putting sanctions on them? And yet socially acceptable for correctly prescribed pharmaceutical drugs to kill over 100,000 people in the US alone every single year. Don't think I'm being conscious, am I? Well, I'm working at a lower level of consciousness by focusing on that. But what I can do is focus on what I can do to play my part in operating at a higher level of consciousness. And I can do that by becoming aware. That's it. I think one of the greatest goods any of us can do is just to become aware. What I would like to do, and I will save this for another recording, is to talk about some more research and information that I've had with reference to wheat. So watch this space, or gluten. So what can I do to love myself more is a wonderful, empowering question. And I'm not talking about your brain suddenly says go for a massage or go for a pedicure. That's not necessarily loving yourself anymore. In fact, I know so many people, when I say know them, as I don't know them personally as such, but I see them, who dye their hair, make art out of their nails and so on, and yet ultimately they don't love themselves. I'm not saying if you do that you don't love yourself. What I am saying is just become aware that you are beautiful just the way you are. You're not required to change anything, and to the degree that you change yourself more than you truly are, in my opinion, it's likely to tell me that you're not happy with yourself, or you're following somebody else's meme, somebody else's script. Is that a higher or low level of consciousness? I'll leave that with you. So consciousness is just to become aware, filled with love, light and wisdom, awaken to your divine nature, your true potential, open to what is present in any moment. That is a higher level of consciousness. Rather than, I know we live in a stimulus response world, just to break that from the stimulus then to the response. So if you are one of these people that's a drama queen, focus on what somebody said or done, so relating to the past, or ongoing delusions within the media, that's a lower level of consciousness. And so the invite, once again, is just to become aware, just to become mindful, and to change that vibration to the degree that you want to. For most of you, you will stick where you are, and the reason for that is because you're in your comfort zone, and it seems a bit scary out there to want to change and to experience something different, because the ego, it's a perception of who you think you are, wants you to stay exactly where it is, even if it means playing that recording that you don't like the sound of. And I use sound metaphorically. So, how can we possibly love another if we do not love ourselves? I've done a recording on love. It's quite simple, really. You can't love anyone else more than you love yourself. So the invite really is for you to tap into your own innate wisdom and to love yourself more. And that doesn't mean by having massages or pedicures or whatever. That's not about loving yourself. It's just you can have those things, but it doesn't mean that you're going to operate at a higher level of consciousness. I think the biggest thing really, I suppose, is changing your position from coming from a victim to a victor. And it's funny, I bumped into a chap I hadn't seen before in the street the other day, and he was telling me about this story about this brain tumour that he's overcome. But he kind of told it in a victim position, and I just stopped him momentarily and just asked him to look at it from a different perspective, where, well, he obviously survived it. I mean, they cut over his head, for crying out loud. But then the invite was to find out, well, what was the etiology of that? And quite simply with this gentleman, because I know a little bit about him, it's because he deals in a toxic environment, and obviously a lot of his chemicals that he deals with have passed his blood-brain barrier, and some of them have settled in there. Anyway, consciousness levels off. Operate at a higher level by letting go of the past, by focusing on what you can do to become the change you want to see in this world right now. As always, have fun. My love to you all. Bye for now.